Welcome back to Sneaker Impact News. Today I have special guest Jennifer Mirambeau, aka Jenergy. Hi Jen, how you doing?
Hey, I'm great. Feeling inspired.
Awesome. Thanks for coming by the Sneaker Impact studio. Jenergy is a dear friend of mine for many years. She's a visionary artist of movement, dance, and prayer performance. She holds workshops and is an ecstatic dance facilitator and also the founder of Ecstatic Flow.
Yes.
I also know you have a big background in sustainability, science, and environmentalism. But first, let's start off with ecstatic dance. What is ecstatic dance and how did you get into it?
Yeah, ecstatic dance is a freeform dance movement designed to just really allow you to express your truth without judgment, without needs to go into a certain choreography, certain steps, but just really allowing you to tap into your free movement and see how we can release tension, trauma, trapped emotions, and liberate ourselves from some of these things.
Amazing. So like a judgment-free space?
Yeah, judgment-free space, substance-free space. We're actually just going and connecting with the music without needing alcohol or drugs to get us somewhere and be able to drop in. And it's a really deep healing and transformational experience when you really treat it like a practice. It's kind of like a yoga. You got to show up to it, and showing up to the mat, showing up to the dance floor, it really catalyzes a powerful journey, a transformational journey in one's life. And that's why I started the experience here in Miami, because it really impacted me in such a deep way. I grew up here in Miami and was going to clubs and bars and feeling like, there was all this certain frequency of like you had to look a certain way, you had to be a certain way, you had to walk and talk a certain way. And I felt disconnected from my truth. I started to hold on to a lot of shame inside of my body. I was judging myself, comparing myself to others, and needing a lot of alcohol in order for me to feel free. And it was destroying my health. It was destroying my mental state. And I didn't realize how toxic it was because it was just so normal with the society around me, and still really is. And so once I started going to ecstatic dance, it really changed my life in such a beautiful way that I just wanted to share it with the community here.
Awesome. So like, when did this all take place, this transformation? And like, was there a specific moment, or was it obviously like more of a progression and like, gradual change over time? Or was there a big aha moment?
Yeah, there was actually a really big aha moment over 10 years ago when I was at UCF studying environmental studies. And I had a powerful psychedelic journey in the forest where all of my like creative energy started to kind of come forth, where I thought I wasn't an artist before. I thought, that wasn't for me. And I just started unlocking these parts of myself. And around that time, I started going to music festivals and dancing and really experiencing the power of dance without needing to take substances in order to get me there, although there was some substances that kind of catalyzed that.
Sure.
But then after that, it was like, oh, wow, I kind of unlocked.
More of a mindful approach to.
Yeah, I kind of unlocked
like
something.
Yeah. Wow.
And then with that unlocking, it was like, oh, I feel way more free now, and I don't need these things to get me there, but I can access the state through dance. And upon doing that, I really started seeing how the ways in which I was operating before was actually out of fear and was actually out of shame, and there was some guilt I was holding on to. And so once I started to kind of dance through those vibrations, started to feel more joy in my life, started to feel more freedom in my life, more clarity, and just overall deeper sense of health and wellness.
Yeah, I've always known you as like a free spirit and dance instructor. Jenergy, that was how I first met you. I've seen on your Instagram so many amazing events you're doing in the community that are all substance-free, super healing. And I know the planet is important to you too. So what are your advice to people who come to your class? Like, walk us through like a little bit of how you guide people.
Yeah, so we start off with an opening circle, and the opening circle is really to set that container instead of just going in and music's already playing, and to really connect us with each other. So we have some sort of an icebreaker so people feel safe to express their voice, because that's a big part of it, is feeling safe to express yourself in all the ways. So there's a little bit of an icebreaker, a little bit of some
introducing yourself.
Yeah, and maybe like a noise to kind of represent where you're at right now, or a movement to represent how you're feeling right now, and we kind of watch and embody that movement together. There's different kinds of icebreakers that we'll go into. And then we talk about what is ecstatic dance and why is this important and how is this different than just going to a club and, and just like we're sitting in a circle already. That's very different.
Bopping, like the head bopping you see in the club, or like the little bit of bit of movement. But like this is really about letting go.
Yeah.
Because I hold tension in my shoulders and in my hips.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not alone.
Yeah.
A lot of people hold tension in their bodies because we're kind of stiff in general in society, right? And then also it's like the programming and like societal norms and like people look at maybe ecstatic dancing as like something that is for an artist only.
Yeah.
But it's really for everyone.
Yeah, or for dancers only, right?
for dancers
only
only,
professional dancers.
Sure.
And you think like, oh, well, I don't know how to dance, so I can't dance. But
Yeah.
dance, there's difference between a choreographed dance and then dance as just your embodied expression. We all have expression. We all have a body. We can move. We're not talking about certain steps and certain choreography that, you need to, in order to know how to do that, right? So this is really dropping the rules and coming into how our body intuitively wants to move. And so we talk about that before the dance. So people don't think they have to do anything in a certain way. They could roll around on the ground and just be in that. They could twerk for an hour and that would release a lot of tension in the back. And that's actually really powerful.
Sure.
That would also release a lot of, if you hold on to shame in the lower energy centers, that would support that, release. And we create a safe space so that you don't feel like, oh, if I move in a sensual way, some guy's going to come up and like touch me or without
It's
consent.
a safe space too, where that people are not drinking alcohol, and this isn't like your typical, like you said, at all a club. It's a sacred space.
Yeah, it's a sacred space to come in. And so when we talk about consent, we talk about how to find out if someone wants to dance with you. Okay. We make sure that we don't touch people without them wanting to be touched.
Very important.
We encourage people to dance with each other. We want to encourage connection. We want to make sure that it's a safe space. And someone might have trauma. They might be going there to release that, and someone just touching them without asking could recatalyze that. So we have these kind of ground rules before we start. And something that's different is that we actually, in the dance floor, into the central dance floor area, we actually have a no talking rule once the dance starts.
Okay.
So we can go really deep into the dance without being in the mind, because this whole practice is about getting out of the mind and into the body. And we're so used to being in the mind on a daily basis. We work, we talk, everything is like right here. And that kind of disconnects us from being in here. And the way I see it is like masculine and feminine energy, not to be confused with man and woman. This is masculine and feminine. So masculine being like in the mind and feminine being in the body. And the like release of control and surrender. And then masculine being the structure, which both are important and both are necessary to create balance and harmony within oneself and in the planet. But if we're out of balance with that, maybe too much in the mind, too much in the masculine. Again, this is not men and women. This isn't men are bad and good.
Some women even are
like
too
that.
much in the mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And too much in the structure and the controlling. And so that would take us out of balance. And so when we can come into balance, when we can use a dance as a practice of coming into balance, getting in our bodies, having a practice where we release the structure and release the judgment and release the mind and come into that, it's a powerful energetic and emotional release. That's really powerful. And especially in our day and age where, vulnerability can be seen as something weak. Emotion, accessing, deeper states of emotions can be seen as something that maybe we judge. And when we can kind of start to drop all of that, those like social norms that are actually restricting, they don't really support us. We can really tap into a deeper sense of freedom and liberation and health in that, for men and women, especially men, because, from what I've, heard from my brother, my friends, my brothers that are, you're my brother, they've been conditioned to not express emotions as much, especially sadness and grief.
Sure.
And so, if you come into an experience and like the music is designed to catalyze you to go into deeper emotions as well. It can be just all house and up like high vibe house and stuff, but it also can take us to some more sonder places, some more emotional spaces, and to have an experience where you can release emotions and feel safe for that. That's a really powerful experience, especially for men who may never cry or never feel safe to cry because they've been told their whole life that makes them weak, when that in fact that actually creates a deeper sense of strength because they're no longer holding on to like an illusion, essentially.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure you've gotten people that have been brought by a friend or just were needing that. I have a question about the words ecstatic flow. So can you explain what that means during the practice? Like, do you experience ecstasy, and then what does flow mean?
Yeah. So, with the overall like event, it's an ecstatic dance event, and these kind of ecstatic dance events happen all around the world. It's a movement that's global. My company is called Ecstatic Flow, which is like we do ecstatic dance, but we also have different types of events under the umbrella of like the Ecstatic Flow community. And ecstatic is really tapping into that state of ecstasy, and it's like a mystical kind of experience that allows us to see life beyond just the physical and tap into more of the energetic and spiritual aspects of life. and you can have a mystical experience without taking any sort of psychedelics. Psychedelics can definitely catalyze that, but the goal with ecstatic flow is to be able to access these states without necessarily needing to take anything. That's why we utilize,
like
ecstatic dance.
A natural euphoria.
It's like a natural euphoria, natural high. And the state of flow is really, a kind of, again, being out of the mind, in the so engulfed in the present moment that time tends to like dilate. Our sense of time, it just is like feels distorted because we're so in the present moment that it feels like oneness. And that's really a big component of my movement, Ecstatic Flow, is sharing about oneness, sharing about unity consciousness, which essentially is like kind of takes me back to when I was in college studying environmental studies and being like, well, I'm learning about all of what's wrong in the world, the climate change, the deforestation, the sea level rise, all of these things, the carbon in the atmosphere, and being like, wow, like we're kind of screwed. Like, what are we going to do? Yeah. We're in like the 6th grade extinction.
Yeah.
And I was like, how are we going to solve all of this? And like, felt like their answers, like, in university, we're like, gotta fight the politicians, fight. And it was a lot of just like this resistance and fighting energy. Then when I had this spiritual awakening with mushrooms in a forest back in 2012, I was like, wow, I had this oneness experience. And all of a sudden, everything kind of started to make sense in a different way. Like yoga started to really make sense at that point. And yoga is, again, union, is all about oneness. And I realized like, oh, wow, humanity just gets to remember oneness, because when we remember that we are one with all life, that I'm one with you, that I am one with the earth, the air, the water, and the fire, I want to protect myself. I realize that separation is an illusion. I realize that everything is connected. And so my actions directly impact you. My actions directly impact the waters, the air, and I get to be that change. And so if I see myself as one with all life, then I'm going to make decisions that are going to be in coherence with that. And people who are politicians will make better decisions on greater decisions for the world, for the country, for the planet. Corporations, are a group of people, right? So those people remember oneness, they're going to remember, they're going to want to make decisions that are better for the planet. And that's why with dance, it's like a remedy to that, because when we dance, we have to release judgment. We have to come together. We have to see, with ecstatic dance, we have to see that we're all one. Otherwise, we're going to be in the dance. We're going to be uncomfortable. We'll be judging people. We'll feel like I can't connect, but that's all the mind that's telling the body, oh, I'm not safe. These people are not me. Like I like these, but I don't like those. And the dance is like that remedy to that we can just like drop all of that and come into community together. And hence the word unity at the end of community is like recognizing that we're all one. So really building up, sharing that mindset of unity consciousness, of oneness, and then dancing together as an embodied expression of our truth.
And do sometimes like people even close their eyes, so they encourage you not to like take in so much information, because I know I'm kind of shy, and I would feel like maybe at first, but until then, once you tell me all of this, the background and the stuff you prime people with to get them the best practices, but even what it would call is just like the rules of of your class is that no one's looking at each other and forming judgments, like we all are going within. So you could close your eyes, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
And shy people like me, you just got to go for it.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Like doing it blindfolded, even for just like a part of it, is a really powerful practice to just get out of the mind, get out of the like, oh, I'm looking at that person and I'm comparing myself. Because if you have that pattern for so long, it might take a few, times of going to the event to like really start to,
or was that person
drop
looking at me? Did
that.
I catch eye contact? Like it doesn't, like we're starting to get into our mind then, versus staying in our body.
Yeah, because it's really not about what it looks like. It's just about the feeling. Sure. Like you could learn whatever. Like
I'm just bumping around, just bouncing. And, hey, that's what I'm doing.
Exactly.
If I'm doing some robotic stuff, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm feeling. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be a professional dancer and come in and not look professional just because you wanted to be free.
Yeah, exactly.
Or all of a sudden you're embodying what could be deemed as, oh my God, this person looks. But again, you're not looking and you're not forming judgments. That's, I think, the biggest thing is you're more like meditating and taking in this community that is there to embrace you and not, this is not what most people are used to.
Yeah.
When most people go to a wedding or they go to a bar or a club, I'm a DJ, you're a DJ. I mean, we're in a lot of different venues, I know, and you're playing to very mindful audiences in general, but, your background is such that you've now cultivated this community around you where you're putting on events year round. And I want you to now, if you can, tell us about some of these amazing events you're doing on a monthly basis in the community.
Yeah, so here in Miami, we have an event called Expansion, Ecstatic Dance Miami, where we do a community dance, and now we're starting to do a cacao dance ceremony.
Okay.
So the community dance is a little bit lower ticket price. We want to, get as many people in there, dancing, connecting, going deeper. And there's always a sharing circle at the end too, where people get an opportunity to be like, wow, this dance, I've never been to ecstatic dance before. I was always judging people when they were dancing weird, and now I realize, oh my gosh, like that was just my mind, and I get to free myself, and I'm connected, like things like that. Or I had such a bad, some people like, I had such a stressful day, and then I came here, now I feel free, and I can relax and drop in, and I feel safe in my body. People share
friends.
all type of things.
Yeah.
Right. And then the cacao dance ceremony, which we're starting, looks like in April, is a deeper, little bit of a higher ticket price event where we have a cacao ceremony. So people drink cacaos, and instead of drinking alcohol or taking some sort of substance, cacao has its own energizing and heart opening properties to it.
I've heard of it as a heart opener.
Right.
Yep.
And it's really beautiful. So then we get to it's almost like a plant medicine experience, but not a psychedelic one.
And the theobromine gives you a little bit of energy too.
Yes, exactly. And then we have a little bit longer of like a sharing at the ceremony circle at the end, a sound healing, and we can bring on different artists for that. So we'll have like a little bit, a bigger budget for it, so we can bring on some, bigger headliners in the future, and really co-create something really, really special. So it's basically right now it's every first and third Friday of the month.
Okay.
So the next one's actually this Friday, the third Friday of the month.
Okay.
And I'll be DJing it. And so we bring on different DJs, different artists.
Dance?
This is the community dance, yeah. And then we'll start with the cacao dance ceremonies next month. I'm really excited about.
And the
we'll
cacao
have
is sacred, like it's sourced, like it's this organic.
Yeah,
Some people don't even know what cacao is, maybe, but it's the. You want to tell them?
Yeah, like the pure form of chocolate before all the sugar,
tree, right?
before
it's the pod. And then they get the pods out of there, and the cacao nibs are made out of the dried cacao, right? But you can make really beautiful paste. And is it like a drink though? It's a hot drink.
Yeah, it's a hot drink, so it gets like melted down into a liquid, and then usually added some sort of spices. Sometimes they make it a little bit spicy with like cayenne and ginger. Sometimes people will add coconut milk to it and make it a little bit more creamy. Some people will add sugar and sweetener to it. Usually like some sort of cane sugar,
it's
organic
like
brown sugar, or
bitter,
honey. But it's more bitter. Yeah, rather than like your Hershey's milk chocolate or something like that.
Which literally has milk in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Milk
and
solids
so,
or whatever, versus a very organic, grown on like sustainably produced farms. And
usually somewhere in Central and South America.
Regenerative, like permacultures type places. Yeah, this is awesome. So, and I heard you did last weekend a full moon beach party in Virginia Key.
Yes.
I was unfortunately booked double days and I couldn't come, but I'm going to come to your next one because I was watching what you guys do.
Yeah.
Like you were describing it on Instagram, and like you're popping up on this beach, is my understanding, with artists, and it's for the full moon. And tell us more, and tell us about how sustainable it is.
Yeah, so we start off with a breathwork class to really ground us, center us.
On the beach?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we set up we bring the speakers, we have vendors, all like sustainable like food and different items. There's no plastic. Even for like the water that we give, we have a water sponsor, Alive Water. They deliver fresh, pristine spring water to your home or office in glass containers. So there's zero trace of the industrial age in the water because they get really great sourced spring water. And then there's no plastic. You're not throwing away these plastic bottles. You bring your own
containers too?
Yep. We encourage people to bring their own water bottles if they forget or they don't, have one. We do have some paper compostable cups.
Okay.
So again, no plastic, no vendors.
This is like a state park. Virginia Key is a very pristine, natural area. It's not like some urbanized. But yet it's right on the edge of the city of downtown Miami, on the edge of like Key Biscayne, and it's set right on the ocean. And there's many festivals there, from like Art with Me. But everyone does it consciously. Love Burn.
Yeah.
You were at Love Burn this year?
I didn't go this year. I've been many times. It's one of my favorites. I love it. Yeah. Awesome. And Art with Me is incredible too. And I was just at that same spot for We Belong Here festival. And
We Belong Here.
And so I do like a little bit of a beach cleanup after, because some people, leave trash and things, unfortunately, and I do my best to leave it better than I found it. So I'm always picking up the plastic straws from other people who have events that are a little bit less mindful, but usually they're all still pretty sustainable. And I'm probably going to talk to the park and see if they could, ban these plastic straws, because I found like so many on the ground.
Styrofoam too.
Yeah. But for my company, we never use any of that. I always encourage the vendors to have compostable plates or anything that they're using. Not the plastic fake compostable stuff, like the real, paper stuff, or even just like bring your own stuff.
Reusable
So,
glass or
that's definitely the best. And I always carry my reusable glass water bottle, and I do my best like to not use plastic unless like I absolutely need it. Like I'm not gonna die of thirst if.
Well, I read last week a study that said just removing plastic water bottles from your life and consumption removes the amount of microplastics you consume as a human being from 90,000 parts per billion per day to like 4,000 parts. Now, it might be wrong per day versus per week or whatever, but like
it's
they
significant.
said you reduce your microplastic consumption intake by like 85 to 90% just by not buying. So like I'm a cross country coach, and like about 5 or 6 years ago, I stopped letting the school or me ever buy plastic water bottles for the kids, and we just use giant coolers, and we use like paper cups, or I have them bring their own bottles, and like otherwise it's like boxed water or canned water, anything but plastic water bottles.
Same.
Like, and let's get these companies to stop producing them. Like find better materials that are biodegradable, that don't release, because the plastic water bottles are probably the worst thing for your body and also for our environment. Along with plastic bags, straws, all these things that you can just we all have metal straw. Hopefully a lot of us do in the mindful community now. Like I have like 10 to 20 metal straws. I got one in my keychain that unfolds. It's
that's cool.
A forever straw, but like you don't need, and if you don't like the paper ones, so some people don't like the paper ones because they fall apart. There's sugar cane ones now that stay strong for a long time. And then there's the metal ones. Like I have friends that love to drink their smoothies or their matcha out of their metal straw because you don't have to, a lot of this is going in the ocean. And you grew up here, so you've lived in Miami your whole life?
I was born and raised, and then I left for college. I moved to Orlando, go to UCF. And then after I graduated with my bachelor's, then I actually moved to Denver, Colorado. I was only there for a few months, and then I was in LA, and I was based in LA from 2015 to 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I moved back basically at the beginning of 2018 or end of 2018, beginning of 2019, back to Miami.
I think I met you maybe even before you went to LA, but maybe right after through Live Ultimate. I remember Aaron may have been one of the people that introduced me.
That was probably when I moved right back. It was probably 2019 around there. Yeah.
And you were helping us get the word out and educate about clean beauty and clean nutrition.
Yeah, functional mushrooms. Yeah, really big on functional mushrooms.
You've been using those in your classes?
Yeah. I
like these are lion's mane and cordyceps and reishi, not the psilocybin, which
usually we'll actually add functional mushrooms to the cacao. So I'm really big on that. They're so good for the immune system, brain. They can even remove plastics from the mushrooms. Have the power to remove plastics from the ocean, which is something that
they found it growing in the Pacific Patch. They found fungi growing and breaking.
Yeah, mushrooms are incredible, and just the fact that they catalyze such a profound transformational experience and mystical experience and enlightening experience for me in my life that continues to ripple out this day, and even just like what the functional mushrooms do for the body and our mind and our health and clarity. Lion's mane is so good for the brain and the nervous system. And it's incredible that nature provides us with so much that we often think we need to go to the pharmacy and get all of these things in order to feel better, when actually in reality that's making us worse.
Yeah, and it's kind of like desensitizing us and kind of placating us in the sense that there are a lot of side effects. And my mom was a pharmacist for 35 years in a hospital. She's retired now, and I love her to death. And she's my hero. But she also worked in the pharmaceutical industry in a hospital, so I saw her go to the conferences and bring home all this stuff. And then me, like I grew up also on an organic farm. My older brother and I became an herbalist and a botanist, at a young age. And I've always vibed towards natural cures from even a teenager now. So for 30 years, I've been always recommending, and I've stayed clear of pharmaceuticals. Now, not everyone can do that because there are some major medical needs for certain things.
Right.
Like even when I had Achilles surgery, they had to have me take some things to help at first with the pain or inflammation, but just for a day or two. But like in general, when it comes to antidepressants, like they found exercise is so much better for you. Dance. Like they found exercise like 100 times more effective than any antidepressant pharmaceutical you can take.
It's just like the biggest thing I'm trying to share with humanity. It's like dance and mushrooms is like my biggest thing.
People are scared of mushrooms because they have these some people are scared because of the connotation or the association with magic mushrooms or mold even. We learned when I did some of my studies that there's a mycophobia just because the media has scared people so much with mold in their homes that they associate mold with something like a lion's mane or a cordyceps, which is sacred. Like the Chinese have used these medicines for 5,000 years or more, and they literally, like, cordyceps boosts your chi, you know, and your energy through, and it also, it like repairs your DNA, and it like helps with like your, it just helps you with it's an adaptogen. Yeah. So wherever you're needing support, it helps you. And they don't have side effects that, I mean, if you were to combine it with like maybe a medication, there would be a side effect. But like if you just take things mindfully and under the guidance of doing your research and figuring out for yourself, or having someone who's very intelligent or knowledgeable, like what you or I, that, you know, we've both have over a decade experience with functional mushrooms, and so we're resources to help people understand that, you know, it's okay if you don't understand them. Like, ask questions. Like lion's mane, I'll show you a study from PubMed that shows how it can help increase neuron growth in your brain and help with concentration and memory. And people with early stage dementia are getting huge benefits from these things. So why not? Our soldiers who come back from war with PTSD, they need support. And there's many things besides mushrooms even that you teach people about to help with trauma and with, you know, other mental health issues, which, you know, is important. It runs in my family. My youngest brother has schizophrenia. So, you know, I really care about people that have mental health, and it's a stigma we need to release, you know, judgment of, because every family is affected in the almost in the world by a mental health of some sort, because it's something that we just all need to learn about in our lives. No one is immune from it. I don't think anyone's immune from it. We all have to go through the journey.
We all have our
stuff.
We all have our trauma. We all grew up in this, you know, society where our parents did the best they could, you know, but they had their trauma from their parents and their parents, you know, and so it gets passed down generation upon generation.
School,
and we have, and then our
places,
school, is often told, you know, shut up, be quiet, listen, and you might suppress your creativity or be, you know, maybe you got made fun of in school. Maybe your teacher said something that triggered you. You didn't even realize that made you believe a certain thing about yourself. So that's going to be a lot of mental reprogramming. You might have to feel like, to know that if you have something like that, you would have to tune in and see if you start to feel shame during your reality, like you start to have this self-criticism or self-doubt. It's probably because something happened early on in your life that made you believe a certain thing about yourself that is actually an illusion. That's not true. And then you get to rewire that, and you get to release the emotions that are stuck and stagnant, that are blocking the energy. Maybe there's, you know, some extra tightness in your shoulders because of it, or your hips because of it. And when we realize the mind-body connection, and we just accept that and realize, like, release any judgment or shame about it, and we can really start to heal, and we just come into like the truth of who we are, which is true love and freedom. Like, we are born, you know, these beautiful innocent beings, and we have been taught to think that we're born wrong or born as a sinner. And then it goes down to like some deeper stuff in that, when we actually can realize, like, oh wow, it's only like the things that I've been taught, I'm really just pure love, and I get to release the barriers to that, the mind that tells me, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or oh, that's for them and not for me, or I'm less than because I'm comparing myself, and all of these things. And we do a lot of mental reprogramming, which is the masculine form of healing, and then the feminine form of healing, which is the physical, energetic, and emotional releases that we get to have. And dance is such a powerful way to do that. Unstructured free movement. And there's lots of different other types of trauma release therapy that we can do as well. That helps that.
I think saying, I always remind myself, someone told me this even a year ago when I was bringing up, even, you know, I'm a runner, and I was dealing with this injury, and like I'm a little sad because I see others running, and one of my anyways, I was comparing, and they said to me, comparison is a thief of joy. And it's like I need to write that on my mirror at home, like every morning, to look at, like, never compare yourself to anyone else, because we're all beautiful and uniquely important, and also equal. Like, everyone is equal in this universe, every single person. No one is more important than anyone else. We're all equal. I truly believe that. And I believe we should live simply so that others may simply live, which is a saying of Gandhi. So those are like my principles. But I know as a child, I went through a lot of trauma. So I'm still clearing that as a 46-year-old man. I'm still clearing trauma. I still have a lot of work to do on that.
I'm still clearing stuff within my own self too. And I'm continue to, you know, I'll be vulnerable about it. I'll share it about it on my Instagram so that I can inspire someone else to be like, oh wow, I don't have to hide this. I can actually go into this. I don't have to hold on to this my whole life. And that's so like important. My mission. You're
creating a space for this and teaching people. You're a teacher, a dance guidance, you know, a dance, I don't want to say coach, because you're even more than a coach. You're like dance spiritual advisor. But it's been so cool to be your friend because I see you doing all these events. I saw you at the Psychedelics for Climate Action event.
That one was
you led
really good.
a dance, and you told us a little bit about that there.
Yeah.
And then you also DJ'd it and made a very beautiful environment.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite talks, actually. I was invited to speak there, and it was one of my favorite talks, speeches I've ever had. I'm looking to share more of that in different ways. So I'm super honored to be here
Marissa,
sharing my voice.
I think she's been watching our podcast lately.
Sweet.
Shout out to Marissa Feinberg. Yeah.
Thank you.
Psycha. She's doing big things, and she's going to come back. She's going to continue to be a part of the Miami community with the Psycha movement down here. So switching gears for a second, and we'll come back to some of your passions in a minute, but you got to take a quick tour of Sneaker Impact today.
Yeah.
What did you think of what we're up to here?
It's amazing. It's really beautiful to see, such a big production in the sense of how the scale of it. Like I saw the warehouse, and there's like tons and tons and tons of extra, clothes and shoes that are getting recycled. And it's great to see that it's being repurposed on a mass scale. Yeah. And even when I was walking in, I saw people coming and dropping off their old sneakers and stuff. And I was like, wow, it's so beautiful to see that there's a space for that. And they're getting put into different things, repurposed in the floors with the way that, the soles of the shoes get repurposed to make floors and for playgrounds and stuff. Like, this is amazing, and we need more footwear, of that rather than these old shoes just sitting in a landfill and never biodegrading, that they're getting repurposed and putting into something else. So I love what you're doing here.
Thank you. Yeah, we're passionate recyclers, and mushrooms are recyclers. That's what I talked about at my talk at the Psycha. We're just like mushrooms, Sneaker Impact, in the sense that mushrooms break down the wood in the forest. Yeah. And if it wasn't for fungi and mushrooms, like the forest would not exist the way they exist. Like, they have developed together, and like our earth wouldn't even exist without fungi, and also without plants. Like plants are creating our oxygen. Yeah. So we need the forest, we need the prairie, we need the wetland, we need the Everglades, we need Biscayne Bay to be healthy. Exactly. And I know, going back to you growing up in Miami, like, you've seen a lot change here probably since you were a young girl. Yeah. I know you told me a story the other day when I was hanging out with you, because you've been helping me with some of my body issues, is that you said you grew up selling mangoes, because the mangoes are everywhere. So I can just imagine the young Jenergy, like got the neighborhood mango stand, or you're making mango smoothies and mango everything, because we have mango trees everywhere in Miami. So
that's what I love about Miami. Those are the mangoes.
What have you seen, like, in terms of the growth of Miami? Like, and unfortunately, it has led to a lot of development, and Brickell and downtown and South Beach are just like now Manhattan in a sense. Like, it wasn't like this 20 or 30 years ago as much. It's really, and I mean, how are people making a change that you've seen in the local community?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild to see the amount of growth, like, of development that's happened. And in some ways, in some areas further out west, they're cutting down land and trees in order to develop and make more houses, draining the Everglades, make more houses for people, have more and more people coming over here. And in a lot of ways, that has contributed to more pollution, because there's more cars on the road, more air pollution, more things like that.
Traffic has gotten like 10 times worse in the last 10 years.
Yeah. So in that sense, like, I feel like there's been some negatives in it, but then in the positives, like, I've seen this, like, conscious community grow so much. There is also a really big, more like underground conscious community that wants to be above ground, but it's still like a little bit not the norm. We still have the norm of people going to clubs, getting really, high and drunk.
And a lot of tourists, too.
And a lot of tourists,
come and they do their partying here sometimes.
Like spring breakers, and they come and trash the place and stuff. And so, but then there's a big conscious community of people who want to support humanity in everything I'm talking about here. And there's a lot of workshops on, a lot of healing workshops, a lot of breath work that helps to also release trauma and tension. Usually at the events, we'll do some sort of breath work and meditation as well. Lots of yoga classes, lots of different spiritual events, sound healing.
Like the Love Burn type community, where it's burners, which is all about being self-sufficient, like that Burning Man mentality of leave no trace and be self-sufficient and love each other. Radical self-expression. Yeah. These are amazing. I mean, and honestly, in the last 20 to 25 years, I moved here in 2008, and there was a small yoga community, a small vegan community, or a small mindful, but it's really just like the running community, like exponentially grown. Yeah. Like, the running clubs were all really small back then, and I would say even the ecstatic dance scene, or the freedom of expression, or just like kind of people that believe in a new earth you know, versus the old earth, which was more about subjugation, putting the earth under our control, chopping down forests, which is like the story of the Lorax. We don't miss the water till the well runs dry. And the last tree is chopped down in the story of the Lorax, you know, in Dr. Seuss, you know, they decimate every single Lorax tree. And then they're so sad because this beautiful resource of theirs is gone. And there's all these people, but then there's no, and similar to the story of WALL-E, I bring that up a lot on the,
like Avatar and stuff.
Have you seen WALL-E?
Actually haven't.
It's okay. I bring it up a lot on the podcast. It's another story about the earth getting consumed by humanity, and then there has to be a change. I mean, they actually leave the planet and come back, but you should watch it. It's about recycling, and it's a robot that, you know, has a big mission. But back to Miami, I mean, we're in a major city here, major city, millions of people. And it's a major party playground for tourists until we get the word out that there's other options, which is why I had you on the podcast today too, is that I want people to know that inspiring people in the community and interview them.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I'm honored to get to share this.
Is there anything you would like to kind of do on the podcast? If you don't feel comfortable, that's fine. But if there's any type of self-expression you can lead us through, or dance, I'd be happy to put the camera on. Otherwise, if you want to just explain it to us, like kind of talk us through it or talk me through it.
I mean, we could stand up and do some movement. I'm definitely down for that. I just also like want to share that it's really beautiful that there's more people wanting to share about these things. And I just want to honor, acknowledge you and express my gratitude and be like, you know, that the more that people share about these people that are a little bit more underground, you know, I'm not sponsored by Coca-Cola. You know, there's different, like when big money goes into things, like that's where you see the bigger advertisements on billboards and Nike, stuff when you're doing it. Grassroots like this, it's a lot different, and it, you know, requires people to, you know, see like, wow, I value you. I see what you're doing. Like I want to put you on, and encouraging more people when they see that, like to go out and share that. If there's people who have funding, to put funding into these kind of smaller grassroots things than the arts and healing events, that can really support, because that's where like the ROI, like the way I see ROI, return on investment, is not only money. Like my goal is to support collective evolution, is to support the environment in healing and humans in healing. So the return on investment for me is seeing that people are healing and people are growing. And when other people have that vision, that I also know I'm going to be abundant through that, because we are abundance. Like our truth is abundance, and we get to remove the blockages to that, right?
Versus living in a scarcity mindset.
Right. And so when I see it, it's like we get to all like come together, and people who have that vision and mindset, like let's chat, like let's go into these things. There's so much that we can do when there is like funding
with each other versus like all trying to kind of control or have our own little empire. Or
exactly.
whatever.
Like I'm big on collaboration, coming together, building something that's really powerful for everyone, and that again, that ROI being financial, but also environmental, also societal, and in a really positive growth way. And I just want to put that out, that like we can start to like, you know, shift our perspective in such a way that allows us to really like remember that and embody that and live by that.
And ROI on like healing together. Like even if just one person is benefiting in the sense of they're helping their soul to get through his trauma and struggle, you're making a difference.
You're making a difference, and that affects, like, even though it's just, you think it looks like it just affects them, but it really affects all of us.
Sure, it affects, because then they're going to be better in their community. They're going to do better in the sense of, like, it might brighten their mood, or it might help them in their dark moments, or it also will help them to have an inspiring word for someone else.
Yeah.
Like you helping me, I've been in extreme pain. You've been helping me sort that out, along with other therapists I'm going to. And that's helping me to not feel as hopeless sometimes, or feeling angry, or feeling like frustrated or grumpy. You know, trying to show up more with the positive attitude I'm known for, to be happy. But to be happy, we have to work on it. It just doesn't come all the time. You know, but children, I think, are sometimes in a great spot, but not always, because, you know, our parents really do make a big impact whether or not we're secure, you know, so this is why it's important to have, you know, as we grow up, find the community, the tribe that is going to help you to heal and also just connect, you know, and feel self-acceptance, and everyone wants to feel a sense of belonging, I think.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Definitely
Is there any
will.
other topics you want to dive into? I mean, we have a little bit more time. Otherwise,
We can do a little movement practice.
I can change the
guide
camera up here and we can
guide something. Should I like talk a little bit more? Are we gonna like have a moment to talk afterwards, or
Well, why don't we
just
end
kinda-
with the movement?
Okay.
I also like to end with an inspiring message.
Yeah.
But you've had so many inspirational messages, but I always give the guest an opportunity to leave us with another inspirational message. But what are your other passions outside of dance and, healing?
Yeah, I mean, I love being in nature, connecting with nature. Like I see nature as medicine. We are nature. So any sort of like adventure, hiking, surfing, skating, playing. I don't really snowboard and ski so much, but those, yes. River rafting, just anything where I could play in nature. And like a big part of this whole movement is like reconnecting with our inner child, which is something I wanted to talk about earlier. But a lot of it is like healing that inner child that is really, inside that inner wild child that we all have access to. But in so many, for so many of us, that's been suppressed. That's been, oh, you're too old for that. You can't, and it's like,
Act your age.
yeah, we're judging, like you shouldn't be playing on the playground. You're too big for that swing,
Sure.
things like that, where it's like, oh, we can actually still connect with our inner child in healthy ways that allows us to come into balance with our wisdom, the wisdom of being an adult, and the playfulness of being connected with our inner child. And most people, you'll see when you see like an older guy who looks young, they're probably still playful. They're probably still joking, laughing, playing, being playful. They're not as rigid and stuck and stiff in their body, because that's what allows us to age faster. And if you're, it's kind of like that secret to life, where it's like stay playful, stay wild, stay free.
Childlike wonder.
Yeah.
And just like, versus like, being like, wow, and like always excited about life and learning every day versus like the suited up, I'm going to pick on the suits, suited up, and like you have to act like, well, my investments.
And just,
like you're not being like very, like some people are very closed down. They don't want to share, which it's okay. That's their thing. I might be an oversharer.
It's important to just stay connected with our heart and that like heart that is also is still in touch with our inner child that has its own, dreams and desires and wishes and goals and visions for life. Oftentimes we've been conditioned out of that. Oh, you gotta get a job. You gotta do this. You gotta work. Find a good job, and that might be in conflict with your inner child's dreams. And to know that inner child is worthy of being heard.
Just to pay the bills, right?
Like that inner child's worthy of being heard. It's worthy of accessing all parts of itself, of all the things that it has ever wanted. And when we trust and believe in ourselves, we can really make magic happen.
I love that. Yeah. Magic is definitely part of the earth. It's part of our humanity, our, humankind. So, and you're going on some trips, I heard, in the next couple of months.
We're actually going to do a retreat where we get to access our inner child, play in nature, dance, embody, meditate, and heal in North Carolina in the mountains at a place called Sacred Mountain Waters. It's the expansion embodiment retreat. That's going to be in July. And I'm also going to be going to some other festivals and retreats out there and in California this summer. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, is there anything else you want to share on the podcast today? I mean, I'm sure we'll get to connect with you again in the future, and we're going to be doing events together. I know I'm going to come to one of your dance classes as soon as possible, so we're going to put all that in the description here. Do you want to shout out your Instagram and any other ways to connect with you?
Yeah, so the event's called Expansion, Ecstatic Dance Miami. That can be found on Instagram, expansion_Ecstatic Dance Miami. Okay. And then my personal Instagram is Jenergy Flow 108, Jenergy_Flow 108. Okay. Look up 108 if you don't already know. It's a powerful number. Yep. And my website is ecstatic-flow.com. Oh, wow. Many people don't know how to spell ecstatic, so I'm just going to spell it out. ECSTATIC-flow.com.
Awesome. We'll make sure to get those out. And I know Miami Mushroom Fest. We want to have you be a part of that, and that's something I'm passionate about.
Super excited.
I'm sure we're going to be sharing more news about, and people following Sneaker Impact are going to learn about that. But hope to have Sneaker Impact at some of your events too, if there's ever an opportunity, for us to pair up. I know. We've done that really before for yoga classes and also dance stuff, so we'll be happy to come out, and if people can bring in a pair of footwear, maybe they can they'll see what we're up to more.
Maybe we could chat about that for the next one. I'd love to hear how that would flow.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay, cool, guys. So I think we're gonna set up the camera now to do a little dance party in here. Okay, guys,
stick around. Awesome. I'm just going to guide you through a little bit of a mindful movement practice. This is not our whole ecstatic dance event, just a little bit of a warm-up taster, feel into your body, just kind of have a little bit of a grounding moment. And I invite you to stand up and join me. So we'll start with our eyes closed, breathing in one hand over the heart, one hand over the belly, and just breathing into both hands, really feeling your energy expanding in your hands, noticing how the body feels in this moment. Noticing what's alive, noticing what's present, noticing if there's any pain, if there's fluidity, if you feel free, just being the witness and not the judge. Taking a few deep breaths into your body, just having a moment of stillness and awareness. And with that, I invite you to open your eyes and bring your arms up. Inhale, stretching up and down on the exhale. We'll do that 2 more times, bringing the energy up and down. 1 more time, up and down. We're going to start with a little bit of some shaking, just loosening up the shoulders, loosening up the hands, the face, the legs, the head, shaking out the mind, shaking out the thoughts, shaking out the tension, giving yourself a little bounce. And I invite you to bring some vibrations and noises into your throat. Just loosening up, getting out of our head, getting into our body. And if you can hear this music here, I invite you to just start with your eyes closed, just feeling into the sounds. How does the waves of the vibrations of the music move through your body, move you through? I invite you to find fluidity in some of the more stagnant and rigid spaces. I invite you to breathe love into your heart, breathe confidence into your being, release any judgment of how this might look, and come into the felt sense of the body, letting go of that tension in your shoulders, in your jaw, in between your eyebrows. And finding maybe a little bit of a beat here in your body. Finding some creativity in your movement. Allowing yourself to move in a unique way, maybe a way you haven't before. When I teach my dance meditation class, I usually guide people through the different elements, embodying, I invite you, since we just have a few moments, to just pick earth, air, water, or fire, and see how you can embody that element in your being. Right now, this song reminds me of water, so I'm going to choose the water element and embody the waves, embody the ocean. How does water move through me? It helps me to let go. Water is feminine, water is emotional, water is fluidity. How does that energy move through me? Fluidity in my spine, fluidity in my body. Getting out of the normal patterns that I typically move in and allowing myself to move in a more unstructured way. Thank you all for joining me in this short little mindful movement practice. I honor you. Thank you.